Of every network option you can put behind an account, mobile is the one platforms find hardest to punish. Not because it hides you better in some clever technical way, but because of a single structural fact about how mobile networks are built. On a mobile address, you are never standing there alone. You are in a crowd of real people, and that crowd is the whole reason a mobile proxy is treated as the gold standard for running many accounts. This is why that is true, exactly how the structure works and the trade-offs nobody selling them likes to mention. A quick recap of the ladder. There are three kinds of network identity you can give an account. Data center addresses owned by hosting companies, fast and cheap, but obviously not a home. Residential addresses, real consumer home connections, believable as ordinary households. And mobile addresses from real cellular carriers, the same connection your phone uses for data. These sit on a ladder of trust, and mobile is at the top. The reason it beats even good residential is not marketing. It is the specific way carriers assign addresses to their customers. So that is where we have to look to understand the whole thing. Carrier grade net explained. Here is the structural fact. Mobile carriers do not give every phone its own unique public address. There simply are not enough of the common older addresses to go around. So carriers funnel huge numbers of their subscribers through a shared pool of public addresses using a technique that sits between the phones and the wider internet. The practical result is that one public mobile address is being used at the same time by thousands of real customers. Everyone checking messages, scrolling, shopping, banking. Your account on that address is one face in an enormous genuine crowd indistinguishable from all the ordinary phone users sharing it. The shared address protection. Now think about what that does to a platform trying to block you. On a data center address, blocking it costs the platform nothing. No real users live there. On a mobile address, blocking it means blocking thousands of genuine paying customers who happen to share that address right now. The platform cannot cleanly punish your account through the address without hurting a pile of innocent people it very much wants to keep. That collateral damage is your protection. It is not that you are hidden, it is that you are standing in a crowd. The platform cannot afford to fire into. Why platforms tread carefully? This changes how detection treats mobile ranges. Platforms know these addresses carry mostly real human traffic, so a mobile address starts with a much friendlier assumption than a data center one. They are reluctant to hard block mobile ranges, reluctant to weight the address itself heavily against an account, because doing so generates false positives against real customers. The address stops being strong evidence of wrongdoing. Detection has to lean more on the other layers, the fingerprint, the behavior, the account graph, which are exactly the layers a careful operator is already handling. The network stops being the weak link. Vertation is native on mobile. There is a bonus that falls out of the same structure. On mobile networks, the address your phone uses changes on its own all the time. As you move between cell towers, as the carrier reassigns addresses, as the network shuffles its pool. This is completely normal. Real phones do it constantly. So an occasional address change on a mobile connection does not look suspicious the way it would on a fixed home line. It looks native. That gives you a clean, believable way to get a fresh address when an account genuinely needs one. Because change is simply how mobile networks behave. Carrier reputations. The ownership of the address matters too. When a platform looks up a mobile address, it sees that the range belongs to a real mobile carrier, the same carrier millions of ordinary people use. That ownership reads as consumer traffic, a person on their phone, which is the most ordinary thing on the internet. Compare that to an address owned by a hosting company, which reads as a server, or a residential address from a pool of unknown provenance, which can be clean or dirty depending on how it was sourced. A real carrier address carries the reputation of the whole ordinary crowd on it. The 4G and 5G reality. Under the hood, a mobile proxy is just a real connection on a real mobile network. The same 4G or 5G data connection a phone uses. The account's traffic genuinely travels over the carrier's network because there is a real device on a real SIM behind it. That authenticity is the point. It is not imitating a mobile connection, it is one. The speed you get is real mobile speed, which is fine for the ordinary human activity of a logged-in account, checking, posting, browsing, even if it is not built for pulling enormous volumes of data at once. The trust it buys at sign-up and recovery. That authenticity pays off most at the moments platforms scrutinize hardest, sign-up and recovery. A brand new account created from a real mobile address, ideally with a real number to match, behaves exactly like a genuine new phone user signing up, which is the most common and least suspicious way accounts are actually born. And when a platform sends a verification challenge, an account that truly lives on a mobile connection with a real number answers it the way a real user would. The mobile address makes the whole identity consistent at precisely the checkpoints where consistency is checked most carefully. The cost and speed trade-off. None of this is free, and honesty means naming the cost. Mobile is the priciest of the three, because you are effectively renting time on a real cellular connection with a real SIM behind it. It is usually not the fastest, and it is typically metered, so it is the wrong tool for pulling gigabytes of data quickly. What you are paying for is trust, not throughput. For a valuable logged-in account that would be expensive to lose, that trade is well worth it. For a bulk reading job on public pages, paying mobile prices for trust nobody is checking would just be burning money when mobile is overkill. So mobile is not automatically the right answer for everything, and the good operator does not reach for it reflexively. Plenty of accounts run perfectly well on clean, well-sourced residential at lower cost and better speed. The mobile premium is worth it for the highest value, most scrutinized accounts, the ones where every extra bit of trust matters and the ban would really hurt. For the long tail of lower stakes accounts, residential often carries them fine. Match the tool to the stakes. Spend the mobile budget where the trust actually earns its keep. And do not pay gold standard prices for accounts that never needed it. Not all mobile proxies are equal, and this is where people get burned. A mobile address on a real SIM on a real carrier dedicated to your account is the genuine article. A cheap mobile pool of unknown provenance, resold through three hands and shared with strangers doing who knows what, can arrive already dirty, its trust spent by someone else before you ever touched it. The label mobile is not enough. Who runs it, whether it is real SIMs on real carriers, and whether the address is dedicated to you or shared with a crowd of unknown behavior, is what actually determines the trust you are buying. On-demand rotation and pairing with the device, because address change is native to mobile. A good setup lets you request a fresh carrier address deliberately when an account genuinely needs one, cleanly between sessions, then hold that new address steady, so the account looks like a phone that simply reconnected. That is controlled and believable. And the address only reaches its full strength paired with a matching device story, a mobile-shaped profile or a real handset, so the whole identity says mobile user consistently. A mobile address under a desktop profile that never matches is a contradiction that wastes the very trust the address was bought for. The address scarcity behind it all. It is worth understanding why carriers share addresses in the first place, because it is not a trick built for us, it is a plumbing necessity we happen to benefit from. The older, most widely accepted style of internet address ran out years ago. There are far more devices in the world than there are of those addresses. Carriers, with millions of phones each, could never hand a unique one to every device, so they pull them out of pure necessity. The crowd on a mobile address exists because the carrier had no choice, which is exactly why it is a genuine crowd of real customers and not a manufactured one. The protection is a side effect of real infrastructure. How detection adapts to mobile. Honesty means admitting the other side is not asleep. Platforms know mobile addresses are trusted, and they know operators exploit that, so they lean harder on the layers the address cannot protect. A mobile address on an account whose fingerprint is shared with 10 others, whose behavior is robotic, whose recovery details link it to a dozen siblings, still gets caught because detection simply routes around the strong network layer and reads the weak ones. The mobile address raises the floor. It does not raise the ceiling. It buys you a trusted network story and then hands the pressure to every other layer, which is precisely why the rest of the stack still has to be right. The crowd is not infinite protection, and the crowd, real as it is, has limits. If a single mobile address is being hammered by obviously coordinated behavior, a platform can still act on the account without banning the whole range by keying on the account's own signals rather than the shared address. The crowd protects you from crude address level blocking, not from an account that stands out inside the crowd by behaving nothing like the ordinary people around it. So the mobile address is a strong foundation, not a force field. You still have to blend into the crowd you are standing in, not just stand in it. The dedicated question and the honest limit. On mobile, as everywhere, dedicated beats shared. An address only your account uses carries only the reputation your account earns. A shared mobile address can still be poisoned by a neighbor, even inside the protective crowd, if that neighbor is doing something the platform specifically hunts, and the honest limit never goes away. The best address in the world does not fix behavior. A mobile proxy under an account that spams all day still gets caught, because behavior sits on top of the network and tells its own story. Mobile removes the network tell almost entirely. The fingerprint, the account graph, and the behavior are still yours to get right. I run real Singapore mobile proxies myself. Actual SIMs on real carriers. Dedicated one address per account. Because after years of this, I trust the structure of carrier networks more than any clever trick. You are simply harder to punish when you are standing in a real crowd. Multi-account ops. Com has the full written breakdown of why mobile wins, when residential is the smarter spend and honest reviews of the mobile providers actually worth paying for. No affiliate guesswork, just the stack I run on live accounts. If you want to understand what you are really buying with mobile, that is the place to start. Subscribe for more honest, tested multi-account ops. Next time, payment and identity hygiene, the account graph mistakes that link a whole fleet together even when every single proxy and fingerprint is perfect, because the connection was never on the network at all.